I don't really think art needs a lot. I think people just need to go and do it, you know? Like I'm just stoked on people just doing their thing. Like not really necessarily like a specific style or a specific way to do something. I just get excited when like somebody's excited. And so I would say just keep working and do what you want to do. Don't really worry about the rest.
Expires. Okay, cool. Hey Mo, so viewers won't know this, but I've been talking to Mo for the last 15 minutes, getting to know him. So hey Mo, welcome on Artworker,
Hey buddy,
where I
thanks.
talk to people at the intersection of art and work. Uh, why don't you just introduce yourself, tell us where you are right now, and then we'll try and get through everything as quickly as possible.
Yeah, no. Hey, I'm Mo. I graduated with a screen printing degree, and I started out Danger Press early on in my career, and then from there started working more digitally, and then jumped into the marketing agency world. That was about 2014, and I was there until 2022. And then now I'm actually in-house on a team, so creating my own team and my own branding and like sets of rules for how the company kind of treats creative. It's like a
Yeah.
much different gig because like when you're at an agency, I was working on like 6 clients at any given time, and it was like all different kinds of work. So it's like a little bit of like a more chill pace, but it's very different.
Are you taking on more of a managerial role, or are you still working mostly in creative?
So I'm an art director, and so like once we kind of like set a base for everything, then I'll start building my team of like it won't be very big. It'll probably just be me and a couple of people, but like yeah, eventually I'll be delegating kind of how things work out and how things are designed.
And would you just be taking on marketing work, or what kind of projects would you be interested in getting into?
As far as on like my side, it'd be a lot of marketing work, but that comes with like a lot of different things. Like I'm doing a lot of illustration for like in-house and also like for client work that we send out to different vendors and clients. So that's good. And then there's web design that I'm working kind of like in secret, like kind of get everything together before we launch something.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and then it's just a lot of like social posts and stuff. So and video work too. So it's kind of just all over the place.
What's kind of the most appealing thing to you when like your safe space, and then what is kind of the most dangerous? When do you feel like you're in the danger zone?
My the place I feel the safest is illustration. I love it. So that's just kind of like where I'm at. It's where I stay.
Yeah.
But like if I were to say like I think the thing that like makes me like a little bit more like scared, like not that I can't do it, but it's just like weary is when you send something to like be printed, because that's like end all be all. That's it. Like digital stuff I can keep messing with all day and I can change if I want and just repost something. But like when you send out like a catalog or like a roll up banner or something like that, it's like it's gone. That file's there. So
Plus, you have some familiarity with the horror stories of what can go wrong in print, so I imagine it kicks around in the back of your head a little bit.
oh yeah, like it's like super important to try to follow all of those rules because the moment you don't, it all kind of goes down.
Tell me some more about that. What are some rules that you learned from print that you'd recommend that any design student learn?
A lot of proof, man. Like a lot of proof, and then to follow guidelines that they're sent. Like it's pretty easy to kind of get lazy and sloppy and like skip certain steps, and can't do that.
Have you seen what Pantone has done in Adobe have split ways since the latest update of Photoshop and Illustrator and all that?
No, I haven't seen.
So Pantone no longer is connecting its color book for Pantone solid coated. So matching colors now has become like an issue if you've updated with the latest 2023
What?
Creative Cloud Sleep. Yeah, so I'm glad I let you know. Don't do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll stay away from that. Good job, Adobe.
Yeah, I have no idea. I think it's Pantone is trying to sell a subscription now, but we're trying to figure out here how we're going to deal with it. I fortunately don't have to mix any ink, but I know like the coordinator Emily working on that stuff. It's going to be challenging if her and Dan no longer have the way to communicate with each other.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I forgot about mixing inks and all that. That's you gotta get super dialed in. I can just send out files now.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
What's kind of the most challenge? Is there a different medium of print that you think is more challenging than others, like to get it right? Is there something that's been more problematic for you?
I would say like like when we were doing like some catalog work and stuff, there's a lot of copy and like that kind of stuff. You've got to really be aware of it. Like when you're working on like a big like roll up banner, it's not a lot of copy. It's like a big headline and maybe something small. So you can kind of look at everything at like in a bigger space. It's I think just like it's a lot easier to kind of work with fewer elements, obviously. And so
Yeah.
like making sure copy blocks line up and like there's no like typos and it's saying what it needs to say, and then working with like copywriters, like trying to find that balance of like how much copy we can have versus how much design. And so it's like a both pushback on both ends. But
Do
I
you
would say,
work in copy? Do you do any copywriting at all, or are you strictly illustration?
yeah, I'm like illustration design. I cannot form a sentence like at all. So I stay away from that.
Most of us can't, even when we are known to do it. So,
Yeah, just stay away.
yeah, for real. Hey, I wanted to ask you something. This is kind of an off the beat question, but you have so many different disciplines and you experiment with so many different styles. I wanted to ask you about. I was watching Rick Rubin on 60 Minutes the other day, and I don't know if you checked this out, but he made this conceit that basically like he has no technical ability, he doesn't know how to play an instrument, and he's paid to basically be for his taste. He's basically reliant on something like his personal style, right?
Yeah, like his
What would
opinion.
you Yeah, his opinion essentially. How do you interpret that? Because I kind of was like mad about it, and then I was like, maybe I'm not Rick Rubin, so I wouldn't know. But
Yeah,
I'm. Where do you come at it from?
I mean, I can kind of see that part of it, like just being a creative director and really like helping to form an idea before it goes out. And I think that's important. Like I think that's sick that you can do that and like that you're known well enough to be able to pull that trigger. But I don't think I'd be able to do that. I feel like I enjoy making things too much, and I feel like when it sort of is just like an idea and somebody else takes it, it's you're never going to see it the way you want to see it.
Yeah, I agree. I also think he's being humble or trying to be. I don't I don't know, but it's one of those things where it's like and I'll ask you about this in a second, but like dealing with the creative director here, Jay Gilman, it's like he's not telling me exactly what to do, but he's got these rules for the road. And I was curious, what are the rules for the road that you've learned in terms of applying your personal style, and what have you picked up in the last couple of years that you're looking to experiment with?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like I've learned a lot just because I've had to like bounce around from different clients and like the different needs, and so like
Yeah, I
what
mean, you've had Mailchimp and to Element and all kinds of stuff. So talk about that.
yeah, no, I mean it's just yeah, you get lucky with the certain clients that you get, and like being in the marketing agency, like you don't have to kind of hit the pavement on your own and go do that. You're sort of just like
Yeah,
gifted these amazing projects, amazing people, and like to me that's awesome because I mean it's just such a wide variety of things to do. You never really get bored. I mean it gets intense because timelines get crazy, but you
yeah,
just get bored. And I like to like learn kind of things like constantly. And so like with the next client, you're like, okay, well I did this, so I can do this now, but I can push it even further. And so to me, it's like you got to keep doing that. And when you work with good people too, like good UX team and like good dev teams, and you learn how they work too. Like it gets easier to like push yourself.
a lot of this comes down to time management, I imagine. So like, how do you balance your projects? Like, do you have a number of projects that you won't surpass at a time? Is there a max workload that you know about?
I would say sometimes and sometimes not. Like it just depends. Like if I'm just like going manic, like let's pick everything up, let's go. But yeah, now that I'm like in house and things are like not as crazy as that, like I've kind of got like a better work life balance like there. And
Yeah,
so the bigger projects I'm taking on are like now my own personal stuff. Like I'm trying to make some like a lot of prints like this year. Like it's weird to only live in this space and like have all these illustrations and things, but there's like nothing tangible about it. And coming
hmm.
from screen printing, that's like that's
Does the New York print industry differ from Atlanta at all? Is it Have you noticed anything about like,
I
let's
don't know.
say, price
Honestly,
or turnaround or whatever it is? I don't know what it is out there.
I haven't sent anything away to print just yet. I've only been up here for it's just been over a year. So like I haven't
Really?
yeah, like yeah, we left Well, we pulled in, it was October 1st, 2022. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So have you taken up any hobbies like not work related since you've gotten in the city?
Uh, Not really, man. Like, I'm just keep drawing and keep doing my own thing. There's like a lot of comedy shows and like a lot of comedy clubs, and like me and my wife really enjoy that. So I guess like going to those a
Yeah.
lot. That's like a big part of it. And
Who,
then
who
like
are you seeing? Anyone notable?
just like I like little shows. Like there's like a Dark Horse Tavern over here. It's like a lot of open mics, and sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're kind of whatever. And then like I went to like Madison Square and saw like Aziz, and then he had like a bunch of openers, and then you find those people and kind of go in. I saw them like
Nice.
again in the Comedy Cellar, but yeah, just like a lot of shows like that. And then like yeah, I mean like we're runners, so we run around like do a lot of that
So,
water.
what you like, would it be right to say that like usually if you're taking on something to do that's hobby wise, it belongs in that realm of work. It's still something that you would do professionally.
Yeah. And so like yeah, and like what I was saying, like I do that and like I've got these prints, but I have to close that off like at a certain time at night because then I have like freelance stuff that I'm doing too. So it's like really delegating like as much time as you need. And so like it's basically like work hours for this job and now work hours for this job and then work hours for this job.
How many hours do you think you work a week? Do you have an estimate?
Uh I probably get into my regular job at like 10, kind of just plug away at that till like 5:30, and then yeah, it's like gym time for like an hour and a half, and then it's right back at it, and I'll be kind of drawing and doing stuff till like 11:30, and then do it all over again.
Is
So
that something that how so something that keeps coming up in with the people I've talked to is like how impactful COVID was,
yeah,
and you moved during COVID. So can you describe how that affected your work and where it's led you now?
um, yeah, no, COVID obviously gave everybody like a lot of time, and like I'm a highly anxious person, so like I didn't go anywhere like at all. I was just always inside, and so I was just
Yeah.
like drawing and staying on the computer, and like I know that affected like the way I handle things because I was like I got nothing else to do. Let's just go do this all day, but I like it too because I was able to actually get like stack up like personal stuff and like I could rebuild my site and like do all of those things. So like I guess in that way it was kind of good, but I mean I could have gone without it.
Do you have any siblings by any chance? Because I'm an only child and I work alone, so I was like fine with it, other than just being burnt out in general. But
Yeah.
like, um,
Yeah, I got two brothers and a sister, and I got one older brother and then a younger brother and a younger sister. And my older brother actually moved up here 9 years ago, him and his husband. And so like
nice.
that's when I started coming back and forth to New York and realized like how much we loved it. So that's why we're here
That's
now.
cool. So y'all still hang out well, I imagine since you live closer now.
Yeah, we tried to. Him and his husband have another place in Albuquerque, and
Okay.
they're like back and forth there. And then my brother is an anesthesiologist, so his hours are like wild too. So
Yeah,
it's hard to
I've
find
heard
it.
that's the most in demand like medical specialty.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, he was up in New York doing anesthesia, like doing it in COVID. Like he was like the sole intubator in Cornell. Like he was intense. He was full blast on it.
Nice. But yeah, talk to me a little bit more about like I think we've answered COVID. Did it have any impact on your style long term? Do you notice anything that's different from before and after?
Kind of a little bit actually. So um, a project I was doing during it was I was doing an illustration a day to kind of just like keep myself busy, you know. And then
Yeah.
I turned that into an illustration a day and a certain style for each month. And so like I would start out with like all these sketches or whatever, and then kind of figure out like or writing things down for like almost like a journal, and then
Yeah.
figure out what I would pull out of that day, and then like look at like how many different kinds of styles that I'm liking other people are doing, and I'm watching like how they are pulling things off, and I'm seeing like trends. I'm like, oh, I could try that and see how that
Yeah.
goes.
I was really interested in some of the monoline stuff you've done. I was like, the neon glow works really well with it.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a fun one to do. I mean, they all pretty much were, yeah, a lot of fun. There's like some I was like, I'm ready to get this over with, but it was good. I made it the year, so that's that.
So I'm most interested. in the work you did with the skateboards, because you had like multiple styles going on. It's print. It's like it's a complex thing. So talk to me a little bit about that project.
It was wild how I got that project. Like it was like bananas.
It's Pylon
So
Skateboards, right?
yeah. They're up in Canada. But like what's crazy is like I used to skate a long time ago, like into like old head skate stuff. I'm really into.
Yeah.
I've got two pugs. It's probably back there. You can see, and I just like watch skate videos, hang out, play video games with pugs. I woke up uh, one morning to a message on Dribble, and it was from old skatehead who's got two pugs, and he's like playing video games, and I was like, is this really happening, or did I just like Fight Club myself into this situation?
Okay.
But yeah, so he found me through Dribble, and basically was like, I like your cars, and just go with it. And I was like, okay, well, how about this and this? He's like, I don't care. Just let's let it rip. So I did that, and they have like some inside joke of like different like departments. So they wanted those, and I did some badges for them. But uh, last week actually, we got in touch, and I think I'm gonna be doing another series for them come summer.
Nice. Are you going to work with another set of vehicles, or do you have a different concept for this?
I think I got a different concept, kind of piggybacking off of what I've been doing of like my New York illustrations, like the busted up stuff. And we're going to talk about that and kind of find like a nice like series to do.
When you put together the vehicles, did you have that project in mind, or was that just, it sounded like it was a passion project that someone else took interest in down the road? So how did that work?
Yeah, no, the vehicles were just something I was just doing. Like I started doing them at Danger Press. I was doing like drawing mopeds and
Really?
stuff. And it was because
Nice.
I was trying to like figure out like how far I can take Illustrator and do, I don't know, X and Y. And so from there, it kind of evolved into like this style that I've kind of had for a while. It's like they look like almost stickers and stuff. And then basically, I started trying to do those cars even like more and more detailed because I was watching like comedians in cars getting coffee. I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever, yeah. And so like I was trying to do, I did. I drew all those cars in like a very detailed like kind of style, and I started getting really bored with it, like really looking into it. And then
Yeah.
like
You went with utility vehicles for what you ended up with. So what was the deal with that? You just like,
I just started
what drew you to them?
I just wanted to have fun, and they looked fun. Like I like things that like they're supposed to do something, and like just to make them all clunky and like kind of like chibi, like small stickers. I just thought it was a fun thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. And then when they got printed, like, and you did so this was the other thing that was interesting about it, is like that you have the illustration themselves, and then you have the kind of iteration or the play on words for the like graphic logos above the boards.
Yeah,
Do you do a lot of brand identity stuff like that? Like, how would you describe that? Because it seems like it totally diverges from what like the illustration style of drawing the cars themselves.
yeah, totally. It's like way more flat, and it's like it's like a badge, more designed out.
Yeah, it's detail at that point.
I don't know. I just feel like certain things work for like certain things, and the way we were building these out and like having to know that they were going to be a certain size, I didn't want to make things too tight, and so like I left it a little bit more open in order to make it like more versatile. Also, things like the red, like the mushroom, the day tripper one, like that's just a lot more fun without the dark outline. Like it
Yeah.
does something for itself to be in that style versus the other.
It's interesting. Like you have this granular knowledge of the designs that you're working with. Is there something that like stood out that you wish you had done different with any of the work you'd put out recently? Like, is there some? Do you ever go like, oh crap, I should have done something a little bit different?
Every single time. It's just that's just like
Really?
every single time. Like I'll
Oh,
post something or I'll do something and I'll be like, yeah, that's sick. And then like 2 days later, this was a terrible idea.
I'm going to start referring to it as illustration IQ, because it's like similar to what LeBron James does when he talks through a game afterwards. He's like, I was double clutching with the ball. I don't know what he's talking about, but
Yeah,
he does. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no. No, it's like
Uh,
exactly like
uh, how do you commute to work right now?
I get out of bed.
That's
That's
sweet.
basically
Okay.
it right here. Yeah. So like we got an office near Union Square, and I can go
Okay.
in like Tuesdays and Thursdays if I want. I haven't been going in lately just because of like one thing or the other kind of pops up. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's really I'll get out of bed. I'll walk the dogs to the train with my wife, so she'll go on the train and we'll just kind of do our thing, come back. I'll like hang out, kind of just get centered up, and then turn on the laptop around 10:30.
Yeah. What do you guys go out to eat a lot, or are you cooking in? Like, what's the diet like these days?
Diet's crazy as of last year, February 7th. So, I mean, we like to cook a lot. Like that was like, I'm sure everybody picked it up, like full tilt in COVID, and that's what we did. And
Yeah.
so we started getting really into it. We're making like a lot of like really nice like French dishes and all of that, like really good buttery whatever. And then
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm gaining so much weight. And so February 7th, I was like, there's like no carbs, no beer, no nothing.
Wow.
So, like I haven't had anything fun to eat in a long time.
I'm glad you told me this, because I was going to ask you what your favorite cocktail was as a description of your personality, but I think I'll nix that one. So okay, what's good to eat around if you have to go out and get something that doesn't have carbs, doesn't have sugar, doesn't have caffeine, whatever? What's the deal?
So, well, to answer the cocktail question, it's a vodka soda. That's that. I quit beer and I just drink those. So basically, just
Okay, yeah, that works too.
uh, but there's a place. It's called Marinara Pizza, and it's like Upper East Side, and they do a cauliflower pizza. And so, like,
Yeah.
if I'm like trying to get something close to like something delicious, I'll go up there. But they're like mad expensive, so it's not an everyday thing.
What's the price on the pizza?
I'll get like two of those cauliflower guys, and it's like $60 something. Like,
No,
wild.
dude.
It's expensive.
Okay. So you were saying that you commute to work by just getting out of bed. Like, how are you picking up freelance work? I see that you use like Dribbble. Do people hit you up through there? Like, what are kind of your points of access if someone
Yeah,
wants to get in touch with you?
Dribbble, Instagram, like it's basically through there. And like I got my site linked up to kind of all of those things. And so like you can see like an array of different projects. And so that's kind of how I find like different clients.
Yeah. Is there
But
something
yeah,
you prefer over something else? Is there something that's working for you right now a lot more than something else?
I love illustration, obviously. Web design, I'm really into. Like I really like learning that and sort of just kind of pushing that and exercising that muscle. So like even occasionally when I'm like just kind of wanting to work on there's like sites that you can go to and it'll like push you a prompt. Or there's like a daily UI email that I get. And so if I really want to design something like for a site, I can just use that and do a dummy thing. But like
Nice.
that's like web design really makes me excited too.
Yeah. So kind of explain the different parts of user interface that you work with and what you do with that.
So what I tend to really do is I tend to do microsites. That's just kind of how it's been.
What is a
Like
microsite?
it's basically like one page, two-page page,
Okay.
like website.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
like it a lot because you can kind of push like everything like a little further because it doesn't necessarily need to be like this toolbox that you create, and like it doesn't necessarily need to be a 30-page site where you got to kind of think through everything. You get like the finite amount of things that you need and you can just like push it and make it go crazy. And like that's awesome. But like the other side too is great too. Like building all the rules and setting all the rules and making sure like everything is to that. That's a different vibe. But
Yeah. How does something like a microsite compare to doing something like the Rainbow Room for Mailchimp? Because that was you, correct?
yeah. It's a lot different. So like especially working with like a company like Mailchimp and like a lot of people who are like very creative, like going
Yeah.
back and forth with creatives like that, it can be at times a little bit of a grind, but also like amazing too, because that's how you get like good design ideas. But like building all their stuff for them, it's like an e-commerce site and it's got to work for everything else. And so you've got to find a place of like simplicity in the design, but also like how can I make it fun while staying in that like sandbox
When
versus
did you
like
do that project?
it was probably 2018, 2019, I think. Like yeah.
Okay. So it was right before the pandemic,
Yeah.
or running up to it anyways. But um were you involved with like the token like where did it separate between like what Mailchimp was programming and what you were designing?
So do you know what the Rainbow Room was or is?
It's like the employee appreciation
Yeah.
swag shop, right?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, they just get their coins and then they can buy whatever. But it just didn't work because it was centralized in Atlanta and nobody else could like kind of do it. So they opened that up. But yeah, no. So basically, I got wireframes. They were iterations of different wires, and finally got like something that we're all like happy with. And then I kind of dove in and built these things out. But like they're like, let's get a banner of something. And I'm like, okay, well, it'd be sick if it could be like animated like this and like the rainbow gradient there and like hover states. So like, we need this many images. We need this button. And, okay, well, what if we did this like 3D press and like animated the icons in? So like you can
Nice.
make it your own while still staying together.
How much time did you spend on that?
Um, Probably like, I mean, with everything start to finish, it was like 3 months or something like that. I might
Okay.
It's been long enough that I'm trying to like I don't remember it super well, but it was a while. Like getting the design down and then cleaning everything up and then doing like iterations with them and like making sure everyone's happy and then developing all of that stuff. So it just goes on.
A question I wanted to definitely get to is like when you're taking on freelance work or when you're working, regardless of who it is, how are you? What kind of rules are you setting up so that you're not like in the grind the entire in like a 24/7 grind? What? How do you create distance between your personal life and your professional life?
That's a good question. During the week, there's like it's hard to find that distance just because of like the way days are set up. But like tend
Yeah.
to be on the weekend, like I give myself those breaks and like those moments. So like we'll get up and we'll have like coffee and like we'll just sit and like play video games and hang out and then we'll do like the gym and then go like do something in the city and then I'll come back and be like, all right, well I need to do 3 hours of this work. And so I just put it in, then I'll go. But like yeah, trying to make the weekends still be the weekends.
Is that kind of a New York thing? Everyone working all the time?
Maybe I don't know. I was kind of doing the
How's
same
it?
thing in Atlanta, so
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, how does it compare? How did the two places compare? Like, what's the design culture in New York versus Atlanta, or is there a difference?
yeah, I mean, like, especially where I'm at right now, like, I live in the financial district, and so there's like
Okay.
some like bougie places like around me, which is like not
Yeah.
my vibe at all. But like, you can tell like everything's different, and like public works stuff is like pretty. I like it. It's pretty sick. Like the utilitarian design of things while still keeping it interesting is cool. Like the subway and all of that, and like I like that version of thing. Atlanta, I love Atlanta, and Atlanta's like living walls projects and like how like catering they are to like artists and like all different facets. And like I flew down to go to ABV's like Drink and Doodle for the 100th, and I sent them some work.
Oh
Like
yeah, you
it's
were
a
there. You were there Saturday.
the 100th one, the
Oh,
100th
the
like
100. Okay.
months ago,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean like they don't really differ too much, but like the vibe is like it's different, you know.
Tell me about that. What's the vibe to you in
I
Atlanta versus New York?
I think it's like the main thing for me is Atlanta's so much smaller, and so like you can like if you wanted to like link up with somebody and like really get to know them and like oh yeah like that's like I don't know my buddy Muxworthy, he's like all over the place, and like because I know him he's like yeah just come hang out with us, and like I met all like their artists with their thing, and I don't know, it's cool, like you can see these murals and like see that person around town, you know, whereas like here it's like it's just big and like I'm still like learning it, you know, and so
Do
I
you have
can't.
any? Do you have any ambitions of ever doing a mural, or is that kind of just like not your
Uh,
speed?
I've been like reached out to do murals and like I've like sketched up some or whatever, but like for one reason or another, like it just kind of falls through. And like I'd be into it. It seems like a little intense, especially after being like, yeah, like when I send something out, I'm like 2 days later, I hate it. Like I don't really want to do a giant wall of that.
Well, it's funny because like Atlanta seems defined almost by the mural culture. It's become like a mainstay of visiting Atlanta, or even if you live here. Um, was that always kind of the case, or is that kind of a new development in the art scene of Atlanta? Like, what was the art scene more like when you were working at Danger Press in 2011?
I mean, yeah, it was sick. Like I said, like a lot of murals still, like I think it was coming up. And then like the drink and doodle was like a big thing that was coming, like really starting to take I don't even know, like start to happen. There was like
Who were
I-4.
some of the artists? Yeah, who were some of the artists locally that you were into in Atlanta, and then who are some of the artists you're into in New York?
I don't really know any artists up in New York just yet because I've still been like so
Okay.
insular. So like I really haven't met a lot of people in that respect just yet. But there's one dude that I really, really liked, and I feel like he's just like pumping out like work that I'm just like into. It's Dust. Um,
Dust. Okay.
yeah, he's just this like really sick illustrator, and he just got like a really good mind. Like he did this series of like little playful kittens and these like terrible like mouths, like super monstrous like heads or whatever, but just kittens.
Yeah.
And then there's like another series that I actually have. I printed it out for myself just from like having the screens, and it's just like a series of like sailors knots, but they're snakes. I don't know, stuff like that was like super cool to me, and I just liked it. And he's also like a super nice guy. He'd come into the shop.
Yeah. So was he just a designer getting print work done at Danger, or what was the deal?
I think yeah, he was just getting print work done at Danger. I mean, he's an illustrator. He's pretty well known in Atlanta. But that's how I met him. Uh, but yeah, I'm trying to think of like other people. It's hard. Like Peter Ferrari, I remember doing like a little bit of stuff and seeing him every now and again. And then yeah, but I'd say like Dust. He's like really detailed, and I really like that.
How would you describe your style to someone else if you had to like give them an elevator pitch?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think I've ever really had to do that. I'd just say like simple and clean. I would say like I like straight lines. I like things that like kind of like feel like you can pick them up.
Is there anything that you picked up at Danger that like you didn't that was new to you after getting a degree and like working in an official shop? Like, actually, let's back this up. How would you describe a print shop to someone who has no idea what it is and maybe wants to have a design degree in their future?
I'd say a print shop it's pretty sick. Like I really enjoyed it. It's like a lot of fun, but like it's a lot of work too. And it's you got to really dial it in because it's like at school when I'm printing my own work, it's like different. I can do whatever I want, and like registration can be whatever it is. But if it's like clients coming back and forth, like that's you got to knock that out. You got to like really put it together. And so like it can get intense, but especially with Danger, the culture and just like having the homies work with you feels like
Yeah.
so much better. So I would say like yeah, you definitely should do it. I liked it a lot, and it was like a grind, but it was like great. But having the right
Did it
people.
wake you up to any realities of what a career in design and in graphic design and illustration was going to be like?
What's that?
Did it wake you up to any realities of what making it as a designer or as a graphic artist was going to be like?
Kind of yeah. I mean, that's sort of like why I like got into this other stuff too, because I realized like people are coming in and like doing their thing, and I'm like making their thing. And so like when you start
Yeah.
printing people's posters or shirts or whatever, and it's like someone's like, "Oh, you did that." And I'm like, "Well, I did," and like I printed it or whatever. And so I was like, I want to start being on the other side of it, and like I really want to start like being the person to like set things up and be like, this is mine, and we can do it this way. And so like I kind of tried to get more on the other side of it to see what that was like, just seeing it from that.
I think you chose the right side.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I look back, I'm like, that was a lot of fun.
There is something to it. I mean, like it has this kind of blue collar appeal to it, but I think what most people lose perspective of is like Danger is the rare exception of what a print company is. Like, do you have any horror stories of dealing with print companies that aren't worth their salt?
I mean, without saying a lot of names,
Yeah, yeah,
some Atlanta guys who I think wanted to have too much sometimes and like not really get the work done right. And then there's sometimes where you can see like corners being cut that like don't really necessarily make for good.
yeah. What do you have an example of that?
It's like if I think they just pick up a job that might be too big, and so like dates get pushed back, or like jobs get rushed, or like you start heat pressing certain things to make it work, you know, and like
Yeah,
I mean like issues happen, and like Danger Press had issues sometimes too with like delivery or whatever, but like everyone was ready to grind and make sure it was like it was up to par, you know, like it's not going to go out. And I think even when I was like there and it was like super early, like Ed was always trying something new, and like we were like learning something new, and like the shop was getting built as we were like going. So like going back and seeing you guys and like hearing you got 2 buildings now and like seeing all that, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, and they're I don't know what they have planned, but I know that they're always planning something else. So, were you ever involved with the live printing stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I went out to LA with Ed, and we did like a live printing for Cartoon Network.
God, that must have been crazy.
Yeah, it was interesting for sure. Like I mean it was exciting, you know, and like it's crazy. Like I've never really been out like west like that. And so even
Yeah.
just there was like cool.
What
But yeah,
time period was it?
that was probably like 2012-ish, maybe 13.
So what was I'm trying to think what was out back then on I guess it's Adult Swim. Was it Adult Swim related or something
No, it
else?
was like Cartoon Network. It was like Gumball and like I don't even know, Adventure Time and stuff like that.
Yeah, Adventure Time.
Yeah, which was cool because I was still watching that anyway. So it was just like rad. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny though, like working at Danger and then going on the other side of it, because like I found, and it's like weird, but like when someone finds out that you work for Danger, they're like, "Oh shit, like that's cool." I'm like, yeah, like I thought
Really?
so. Yeah, and like a funny story is when I got to Nebo, they had a print that we had printed at Danger Press, like hung up on the wall. I was like, "Holy shit!" And I told them, I
Nice.
was like, we did that. I remember like the day where you guys like came in and like filmed it because they filmed it too, and I found the video like that they
Really?
of the poster, and you can hear like I think Total Eclipse of the Heart like in the background because that's all we used to play in the shop. But yeah, it was
Um,
rad to see it all for full circle.
was that Ed's taste playing Total Eclipse of the Heart? That sounds like an Ed choice.
Ed was in the front. It was really just me and Jeff. I don't know if you worked with Jeff at all, but it was like I don't even know what was going on that day, but we just played it like 5 or 6 times in a row. I think specifically just to like get annoying. And then like the
Yeah.
rest of the shop, like I think it just played enough to where we're all like, yeah, let's just keep listening to this. So like even like Kevin and Brandon were in the back, and we just keep playing it. No real reason except to just be annoying.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's all it is. Being
Yeah,
at work most times.
yeah, man. You gotta have fun.
Yeah, for sure. What do you do for fun when you like absolutely need to get out of the office or your apartment or wherever? Like what do you do to cut it all off?
Like I said, comedy shows, and then like I really like to run, and so we live on the water, so it's nice to go and like do that. Love having a drink kind of down there too, and just like bopping around to different places and kind of just figuring it out right now, which is like I guess that could be a hobby, but to me it is like learning the new neighborhoods and kind of like seeing the new space, you know.
What does a vodka soda even go for in New York City right now?
Like $6 maybe, something like that.
Seriously?
Yeah,
That's
it's
not bad.
no, I mean, if you go to like the wrong place, you could pay like 12, $13 for it. But the places I'm going to,
Okay.
are like $6.
So are you more of like a you're more of like a dive bar or hole in the wall kind of guy?
Yeah, I'd like a dive bar over much else. But I mean, I'll go, but yeah, I'd rather a dive bar.
Uh, who are some of your inspirations, whether they're artists or not? Like, what are the kind of things that spoke to you as a younger man that you still carry with you today?
I mean, some of like as far as like art goes is like skateboarding. Like I've always loved skateboarding and like all
Who's your,
skate.
yeah, who's your pro skater?
It's all old head stuff, man. Mark Johnson was like my favorite skater. But I think like favorite of all time, and he's still doing is like Leo Romero.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I know Romero. He's pretty straight.
yeah, he rips, man. But yeah, it's like I didn't realize how old I was till I was watching the videos that I used to watch, and it's like, oh, this is like 20 years old.
Yeah, it's just from the '90s.
Yeah,
Did you when you skated? I used to skate. Did you ever get any gnarly like any big injuries?
yeah, dude. Like almost like really like wrecked and like KO'd myself. Like
Are you serious?
yeah, like this,
Dang.
I fell and broke it, and like the bone ripped through the skin, and like my watch was like all gnarled up in it, and they had to like cut it out, and there's like blood everywhere.
Are you
And then, like,
right-handed?
yeah, and then like this one, this is my right hand. This one, I came off of this. I did like 2 surgeries on this, and then like a month later, I broke this
Hold on.
one like a lightning bolt. So now I got 2 rods and a hinge in my elbow.
Let me see if I can zoom in on you. Oh, you know what? Forget it.
Yeah, Yeah, so 2 rods and a hinge, and then I've got a plate and 5 screws. So yeah, I've been put through it.
Got me beat. You got me beat. All I got is a couple concussions and like bruised ribs. Well, a couple of ribs too. But
Concussion is not anything to play around with, man.
no, it definitely isn't, and I don't recommend one.
Yeah.
I don't recommend dropping in on a half pipe when you're not like super confident about it. But I guess I was overconfident.
No, yeah, I've done that. And like your first couple of times, you're just gonna kick back.
Is there what kind of reference tools do you use? Is there anything you'd recommend to like someone as a design student? Like I'm sitting here with the Pocket Pal from International Paper. Is there anything like that you think is indispensable?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just like going through on Dribble and like kind of seeing what's like new, and like you can find out like what's trending through there. So you can like, especially when I do like website stuff and like design, like you got to follow the trends. When I'm doing my illustration, just do what I want to do. But Dribble's like huge for it. Honestly, like Instagram, I like have different bookmarks for like different things, like illustration or design. But like, just like I don't know, like taking pictures of things and just like kind of putting things together. It's like always rad to me. And now that I've got like the iPad, like really streamlines the process, so I can just like upload a bunch of different pictures and like see it all in real time, and then kind of get it all together before I take it into Illustrator.
What kind of music do you listen to?
I've been listening to like a lot of like just like sad boy stuff growing up, like
Sad boy.
yeah, like Elliott Smith and like Rilo Kiley and like Bright
I've been
Eyes.
listening to a lot. I've been listening to a lot of Born Ruffians. Have you heard of them?
Nah.
They're a Canadian band, but they're kind of like post punk and in the similar vein of Conor Oberst and Bright Eyes and stuff, but a little bit more upbeat. Actually, they kind of remind me of like Phoenix or something, but acoustic. Okay. You should check them out. But yeah, I'm on the sad boy thing too. I'm on the sad boy train.
Love it.
Is there a reason why? Like, is there something that's like speaking to you about it? Like, I just find it's so on the nose that I can't ignore it. It's just,
yeah, I don't know. Like, it's like the thing, like, it's weird. Like, so I grew up outside of Atlanta, like in Marietta, and I was like,
okay.
Yeah, like in like a lower middle class white area in a black neighborhood. And so like I'd listen to like country, and then I'd listen to like hip hop, and then I started listening to like sad boy music, and then it was like bluegrass I was listening to for a little bit, but like
Really?
like the slower like Elliott Smith and stuff like that. That's the one that like stuck with me. But like you can't run to that.
What's your go-to Elliott Smith track?
Say Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Say Yes. It's Misery's really good.
Nice. Yeah.
So real feel good songs for the train.
Oh man, I'm surprised you're not like have someone has to pick you up off the floor by the time you get there.
Oh man, I'm vibing. It's good.
All right. Yeah. Mo, I'm not going to hold you much longer. I wanted to thank you for coming out today. Thanks for putting up with my technical difficulties. And if you ever want to shoot us a question, I wanted to ask if you had any questions for me by any chance.
Just what is danger like now? Like, it's bizarre that you're even in another building above a kitchen, above like next door.
I'm kind of separated from it. So like my it's still running 2 presses. It's like on the other side of the building. It still looks a lot like what it did in 2010, 2011. But you come in, you have like the ink area, the office, and then, you have your presses. And then next door is the annex. And it's just a nice chill spot for people to come on break. And then I'm upstairs where like my office changes every day because I'm running around like taking pictures of stuff.
Yeah.
But the people that work here, and I guess this is something that we can leave with is like what surprises me about the people I work with is they're all really great at what they do outside of work. The t-shirt component of it, or even the poster component of it, it's great that it enables us to make a living. But like some of the most talented people I've met in the last 4 or 5 months working at Danger. I was wondering if that's something that is that a sentiment that you share or can vibe with on some similar level?
Yeah. I mean, I think it says like a lot that like screen printing is so like tedious, and you've really got to focus and like get it done. And you're already a creative mind, and now you're like gonna like you really are gonna put the work in. Like you're gonna do well, you know. Like you're not just doodling for nothing. Like you treat it like the other two. It's a job, and you really want to focus on it. But I
Did
was
you
told,
ever get to do? Did you ever get to do a print show with Danger Press?
no, we didn't really do shows when I was there. I missed out on that.
It's something that we're trying to put together again, but this will probably turn into a meeting later after saying it.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you want to leave us with? Just something the world needs, or something that you think art needs, whatever it is.
I don't really think art needs a lot. I think people just need to go and like and do it. You know, like I'm just stoked on people just doing their thing. Like not really necessarily like a specific style or a specific way to do something. I just get excited when like somebody's excited, and so I would say just keep working and do what you want to do. Don't really worry about the rest.
Hey, I can vibe with that.
Yeah, man.
Mo, it's been real. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm gonna turn off the recording now, and then we'll talk for a minute. But
Yeah, thanks for having me,
this is
man.
Art Worker, where I talk to everyone who are at the intersection of art and work. Thanks, and see you next time.
Thanks for having me.